Hey, Sean.
Hey, Larry, it's me again.
How are you?
Doing good? Feeling good? Nice day?
We're featuring a lot of BMWs.
We are. It's like we found a bunch of BMWs, and now we got to just hurry up and do them, right?
So this is your personal build.
Yeah. This is my personal E30. I've had it since '99, and in 2001, I did the engine swap, which it has an S52, which I'll show you later, which at the time was a pretty unique thing back in 2001. Now, everybody's mad at me about it because it doesn't have the original motor, because these cars are going up in value every single day, probably every single hour, and probably as anyone watching this video. But this has been my toy, my fun car that I've enjoyed, and this has been, you know, a kind of a symbol of the shop for me. It was something I had fun with because I had a 1/18 scale model car, which I know you love models, of a DTM E30 M3, which is the German racing series that these raced in Germany. And there was a Kurt-themed designed DTM car that I loved. It was my favorite one, still is my favorite one. And so when wrap came to be, I had this wrapped in matte black, and then I went to my guy at Carbon Wraps and said, hey, can we make this? And he said, yeah, draw all the vector designs and we'll die cut all the stickers and make it. And here we did it. This is an 88 E30 M3, S52 swap, full bolt-ons. It makes like 230 wheel. It has the BBS E50 BBS motorsport wheels on it, which is the period correct motorsport wheels for the time period of the late 80s, early 90s. This has full exhaust. It has just basic bolt-ons and stuff. And I used to do autocross and different track days with the car, and now it's just kind of our showpiece that I have at the shop. This has been my favorite model, my favorite style. It's got the box flares.
Because when you actually first purchased the car, when did you actually first obtain the car?
In '99, and I bought it for $11,000.
It wasn't even that.
No, and the funny thing about it is I drove it every day. This was my car, my daily driver. And people always would ask me, why do you drive that old BMW? Like, why do you drive that? I'm like, it's an M3. They're like, we don't know what that is. But now, you know, this is one of those cars that everyone wants.
It's gone up in value 10 times.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And this is one of those cars I would never sell. I have a few of those cars. This is one of my favorite cars. It's the one everyone wants me to bring out. More than the pink one, more than any. Every time I ask somebody, what car you want me to bring out to the show? Oh, can you bring out that E30?
I love it. I just love this era of cars. The boxiness, you know, just how aggressive they were in terms of when they were actually racing touring car.
Yeah, and it's a homologated, you know, car, and it's really the foundation of the M3, which has meant the world to me. You know, it's been my favorite car every iteration. It's also part of the shop because every time an M3 is released, we get it and tune it and mess with the car, and it's been a hero car for BMW. So it's neat to have the first one.
Is it the first M car?
It's not the first M car. The first M car is the M535, which was before the M1. A lot of people think it was the M1, but it was the E12 M535, and that was back in like 79, 78. But this was the first like series car, along with the M5, the M3 and the M5 in the late 80s. You know, so this was the beginning of the M3. When this came out, you know, all the other E30s in the range, or most of them, had a 6-cylinder in the US forever. They had a 6-cylinder, and this had a 4-cylinder. And this was a way more expensive car, but it was that high revving S14 motor, which is a great motor, but I think that motor is actually better in a 2002. But we can talk about that another time.
Do you still have the original S14?
I do. I have it in a crate in my shop. So I'm probably going to put that in a 2002. That's kind of my secret build.
Cool. Let's check out the engine bay.
All right, so there's the blasphemy.
But what most people don't realize is that you did this before this was worth a lot of money.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
but it doesn't matter. It could be worth $1.
No.
To you, this is your car.
I mean,
and you'll have it forever.
To me, in 2001, I thought the car was on the slower side. I had an E36 M3 that unfortunately I had been rear-ended in, that was totaled, so I had the motor, and I was like, I had read in Performance BMW magazine. That was back when we read magazines, Larry. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I used to go to Borders literally and pull every single magazine that was BMW related and go read it. And then I'd buy my favorite one. Anyway, I saw all those swaps. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it with this car. And it really makes the car. I mean, this is not overpowered. Like if I gave someone the car and they didn't know anything about the swap, they didn't know anything about the history of the car, they would drive it and say, that's a great car, BMW did a great job. And really, I mean, we do these swaps a lot at the shop. I'm working on one right now in a convertible. We've done probably over 10 of them. And it's just is a great swap. It's so reliable. It's such a cool motor. There's no maintenance. I mean, these motors have hardly any maintenance. And the reason I bring that up is because the stock motor for these cars needs a lot of maintenance. They're really finicky. If you move the car like 3 or 4 times in one sitting, plugs are fouled. Like there's a lot of different things that happen. So yeah, I mean, this made the car more reliable and made it more fun. So I'm happy with it, and I'll probably never change it.
I also really like the way these sound. The induction noise is really nice.
Yeah, they're cool. This has the bigger 540 MAF, and some just the standard bolt-on stuff for these motors have. So it's perfect. It's really a really well-balanced car. This has AST coilovers on it. So the car is just, it's a street car. I don't race it anymore, obviously the value, and the car means so much to me. So I'll probably just keep restoring it over the years and just keeping it hidden in my garage. So
can we take a look at the interior?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so clean.
Yeah, so this is all original interior. Obviously the seats are aftermarket. They're Recaro pole positions, just a classic seat for the car. I have some OEM, kind of some rare OEM parts inside. I have the handbrake and the shift knob from the Sport Evo, which was the final special edition E30 M3 that they made. And this is actually buffalo leather and hide. Just a cool OE piece. I've had that Momo steering wheel since I got the car done, so I'm never gonna change it. I just love it. It's just so simple and easy.
You've really smoothed this out with your hands.
I don't think I'm gonna even fix it. I just like how it is.
I like that. I think it's like worn into your hand.
Yeah, yeah, it's perfect. It's very much stock in here. I have a weld-in roll cage in the car, roll bar in the car, and I did it to keep the rear seats in the car because, I don't know, it was always gonna be a street car. But yeah, it's a US, it's obviously a US spec E30 M3, but it's just for fun. That's the point of the car. And the cool thing about the older BMWs, which I'll mention in the other videos too, is that even people that don't know what this is and don't really care, give me the thumbs up and say, that's a really cool car, or that's a really cool old BMW. And to me, that's the best, because you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to live and breathe and die by BMW like me to see the car and enjoy it, and that's that's a cool part of this world.
Yeah, this car, for whatever reason, in car culture has come around in a big way, right? So we just had a chance to feature my buddy Ronald from Renner. He built that S52 swapped E30 M3, and that did really well on our channel. A lot of people enjoyed that car.
Yeah, that's a neat car. That's a car we saw at SEMA, I think, Larry.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a great car, and I think he has the same sort of thought process as me, And the other cool thing is like, this is a car that's me. This is my choice, my look, what I wanted to do, and I really want to encourage people to do whatever they want to do with their cars, because guess what? It's their car, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes all the cars here. I don't love every car here, but I love that it's somebody loves it and they brought it out to show it. I think that's important for the culture.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, there's something special about driving a liveried car on the street, huh?
Yeah, it gets a lot of attention, and it's just fun, man. That's it, the capital F. So, and that's why I did. It has that kind of crazy Nürburgring wing on it it's a DTM style wing with the carbon piece.
Yeah, it looks great.
And it's got the DTM mirrors on it too, just to add more fun to the car.
I love the wheel and tire combo. It sits perfect. You got the flevs on there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yokohama's been a great tire for me, man. I have them on quite a bit of my cars, and it's always been a nice fitment. The square sidewall and everything just looks really good, and they perform well. So.
Yeah, so like on the G80 that we've been driving that you guys actually built, it actually has Yokohamas on it too, and we've put quite a bit of miles on those things. They held up pretty good.
Yeah.
What a pretty car. That's kind of all I can say. I mean, in terms of like iconic liveries, this may not be the most famous livery, but it's something that you really like, right? What are the most famous liveries on the E30s? Like the Tic Tac one?
Tic Tac is a good one.
The
Jägermeister, and then also the standard white with M stripe one that everyone runs. That's probably the most popular. And I purposely didn't want to do those. I wanted to do one that was just totally separate. There's also a Blaupunkt one that's white and red and blue it's actually raced in Japan. I was thinking about doing that one too. But I have about 30 of those models that I just love so much. And because they're liveried and because they're the same car, just liveried 30 different ways, it's all fun.
It's cool. I also like that you guys kind of like did the old school font.
Yeah, the 80s.
but it still says, PSI Motorsports.
Yeah.
Which that is.
Yeah,
your
that was
shop.
something we did. I did it instead of the original shop name that built the race cars. We just did that to kind of tie it in.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, can't drive it today, unfortunately. We're kind of locked in here at the LZ Invitational. We will drive it on Monday. Today is Saturday.
Yeah, today's Saturday.
But we'll take this out on the road because I actually can't wait to drive it. It's just something about updating an old car with a new power plant. It just makes sense.
It does.
Do you have AC on this one?
I do have AC, yeah.
It's a Florida car. It has to have AC, huh?
Yeah, or you'll roast.
You literally moved everything from your E36 into this, like the whole drive line.
It actually has E36 front suspension as well, because at the time I wanted to move the E36 brakes to the platform. So yeah, it has a ton of parts from E36 on it.
Does it have the transmission too?
Yep, transmission has the 5-speed ZF transmission.
What about the rear end?
The rear end is actually the OE. It's the OE E30 rear end, but it's a 325 ratio. So it's a LSD 325 out of an E28.
That essentially like makes it normal again, or like fixes
it does, because
ratio?
originally, like the original E30 M3s have a 410 rear gear in them because they have an overdrive transmission, but the transmissions in E36 are a 1-to-1, so you need to really bring it down. And like a stock E36 is like a 316, so a 325 is perfect to be able to rev out the motor and have fun. And the other thing I'll say is that like to do this swap, there is zero cutting, and I used every single OEM part on this. You can change the oil pan is E34, the motor mounts are E34. Everything I used, except for the exhaust pieces, are all OEM parts from BMW.
And then everything still works, all the gauges, all that stuff works?
Yeah, gauges and everything works perfect. Yeah, it all functions, and it's just like OE. So you can turn, like I said, you can turn it over to anybody and to drive it. There's no special buttons, there's no special ignition, there's no nothing. You just get in and drive it like a normal car.
It's almost like it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I feel like once you drive it, I think you'll agree, because this motor is great and it really fits with the chassis, and it really makes the car.
Yeah, and in terms of room too, it's more than enough room to fit that inline six.
100%. Yeah, 100%. So plenty of room, and then there's plenty of room to have all of the electronics and everything really in the place where you don't have to rewire everything. That's where Renner has trouble. I mean, not them, but they have trouble with that big motor because it takes up so much room inside that little engine bay. And that's where they did such a great job with it, getting it all fitted, getting it to look OEM. And that's what we were commenting at SEMA. Mm-hmm. So that's the tough part, which you don't have to do in this swap.
Yeah. So. Well, honestly, those guys are a little nutty for putting such a big motor in such a small car, but kudos to them. Yeah. But it's super cool. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to support us directly, go to LarryChenPrints.com. I print and sign every single one of these. This is the perfect gift, or it's the perfect piece of art for your wall.